look at hobbles and I can't stand fences. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in.
Woo! Of course, everybody. Good afternoon and happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. It is the Allman Report here on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here, Ashlyn over there, and it is indeed here beginneth the 3th Martinieth luncheth. There you go. And let me tell you something. Nothing mixes better than alcohol and good old-fashioned race talk. You know what I'm saying? So I love talk radio. They used to say, oh, you should never talk about race, religion, or politics in mixed company. It's like, nah. Oh, so much fun. Although it's against the backdrop of, obviously, tragedy and beyond. But, man, it's about time we just face the music and we called it what it is, or called people what they are, like, for instance, black, which is something the news media never does. In fact, the Post-Dispatch, I always knew that it was a black person who committed the crime or they were after or whatever when they didn't mention the race of the person. I always automatically knew what the race was, you know. It's crazy. And then yesterday, of course, there's this Midtown New York City shooting, 4 people dead, including a law enforcement officer. And even when they had video of the guy, and pictures of the guy. Here's how it came across on CNN.
At any given time.
All right. So, Brian, stay with us. The former deputy director of the FBI, Andy McCabe, is with us as well. And Andy, I just want to ask you talk about a 44-story building, as Brian is reporting. And what John Miller just said, there were a few things that really stood out there. Among them that they do know what he looks like. Sunglasses, mustache, male, possibly white.
Really? You could look at the picture and see that the person isn't white, unless he's doing a mimicry of the cover of Black Like Me or something like that, you know. But how is it possible that this is an easy one? This is really super simple. All you have to do is simply not say anything at the time about the race, because I guarantee you'd never hear the words coming out of their mouths, you know, possibly black. You'd never hear those words coming out of the news media's mouth. And that's just one of the problems with our responses to crimes that are committed by black people and black mobs of people and everything else. And in Cincinnati, it's a classic example. Yesterday, I played you this soundbite, but it needs to be repeated, where this reporter was asking J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance is really super good at this. J.D. Vance was basically just like a cat bounces around an injured mouse before he eats it. Just let the reporter indict herself over her lack of clarity, or should I say her lies about what actually really happened in Cincinnati, which was a black mob beating up 2 white people, and the black mob would not be beating up 2 of those people if they were not white. That's my position on it anyway, because we see too much of this. I mean, you saw back in the day the whole Black Lives Matter thing, and these people would go by restaurants and things and force people to do the Black Lives Matter sign or something, and nobody ever did anything about it. And of course, the people who were the victims of it were too scared to do it, because everybody had to apologize for George Floyd, right? So if you were white, somehow you were responsible for the George Floyd thing. And so you had to kiss up to all these mobs of black activists and everything else. And that's kind of what had happened. And of course, all these pathetic white people in the suburbs with their Black Lives Matter signs, which they were really using because they didn't want to spend the money on a security system. So this is unbelievable. So anyway, JD, this reporter is initially describing this fight, and listen to what she says it is.
Street fight, and what concerns do you have?
A street fight.
About that, given that that's your home city?
And JD Vance is like, I don't know, a street fight? What do you mean?
You said a street fight in Cincinnati? I have not seen this. Sorry, give me a little more background, Haley. I'm not sure about this.
There was a group of people who attacked a couple folks on the...
A group of people who attacked a couple of folks. I went through this yesterday. I just wanted to kind of double back to set the table on the Cincinnati thing. And just a group of people. It's all, but believe me, if this were the other way around and it was a group of white people beating up two blacks, oh my goodness, the streets would be on fire right now. Thank goodness Pam Bondi, who I have always stood by, and I love her. Thank goodness Pam Bondi is not taking any crap, and she's going to go and charge at least the 5 they arrested, and they might arrest more, federally for civil rights violations, and she should. And of course, you know what's going to happen is they'll probably lie and accuse one of them, one of the white people, of using the N-word, which never happens, or some kind of racial slur or what have you. And what's next? A GoFundMe site for the 5, for the Cincinnati 5? I bet you that's coming. Because you remember the kid who, the black kid who stabbed a white kid, wound up, his family became thousandaires through the GoFundMe site because of all the outpouring of, sympathy for the guy. I have no idea. But the real problem can be linked to the communities themselves, like Cincinnati. This police chief, she went on and her name is Teresa Thiege, and she held a news conference. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, no wonder people feel, especially these black mobs of thugs, feel like they can run the streets and do terrible things to people with impunity.
Move some of your mics. All right. So thanks for coming out, folks. I want to take a minute to give you guys an overview of the incident from the weekend. First of all, I think it's very important that everybody understands we had well over 150,000 people in the downtown area this weekend. We had a major Big 3 basketball tournament at the arena. We had a Reds game with large crowds, and we had the Cincinnati Music Festival. Wonderful, wonderful events for this city and all the people who attended it. Unfortunately, we had one incident late Friday night into Saturday morning that is getting all the attention and undoing the good stuff that happened this weekend.
Yeah. You shouldn't report on the 2 white people attacked by a mob of black thugs. You should talk about the Cincinnati Reds game and the Jazz Festival and all the wonderful ways people were on the street and having funnel cakes. That's what you should be talking about. She's like acting disappointed that this took all the fun out of Cincinnati's day. My goodness gracious. I mean, and you know, I'm sure, I don't know what the situation was with the police coverage and everything else. There were conflicting stories about that. I understand they can't be everywhere. I get all that. The response time was like 6 minutes, whatever. But with police chiefs like this, oh my goodness gracious! I mean, just the first words out of your mouth are not, "We are going to do everything we can to track down the suspects of this heinous crime that we witnessed on video. We're going to do everything we can to do this." Instead, she talks about how disappointed she is that this racist attack on those two white people at the hands of black thugs is ruining everybody's mojo. Pretty crazy. But that's an attitude. That's not from the head of the Downtown Citizens Committee or board. That's from the police chief of Cincinnati.
That's the incident that you're well aware of that occurred at 4th and Elm. I, like many, woke up Saturday morning to the video. The incident occurred. We got our first call at 3:06 a.m. First officers were on the scene at 3:12 a.m.
Yeah. Keep in mind when she talks about how she, like everybody else, okay, she's the police chief of the city of Cincinnati, but she, like everybody else, woke up to the video. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so nobody told you about this? This apparently wasn't even on anybody's radar? This couple, they were critically injured. She lost consciousness. She was sideswiped onto the floor, sucker punched onto the ground. Ambulances responded. Police did ultimately respond, but guess what? Heffalump woke up to the news. Nobody woke her up to the news. Nobody told her, hey, we had a pretty major incident. This was a beatdown at the hands of a group of black people beating up two white people. We're going to have a little bit of a problem to deal with here because it is on video. But no, she woke up and I guess, hit her phone? Went to the Drudge Report or whatever it was and found out that way? That's the police chief. She knows enough about her police responding and everything else and when they responded, but apparently she, like everybody else, woke up to the video. Darn it, because she was feeling so good about the jazz festival.
Based on the body cam footage that I've watched, that response time is completely acceptable because the downtown area still had traffic congestion from all of the events.
Yeah, nice move. I'm sure you're making everybody feel so good as you have pointed out two things already and not the actual terribleness of what happened to a white couple at the hands of a black mob in Cincinnati, downtown Cincinnati, minding their own business. They were attending the jazz festival. So she's upset about the fact that they were, this is all taking attention away from the wonderful weekend there. And secondly, she's spending time covering for law enforcement. Not one word yet, at least. I mean, this is 11 minutes long. Not one word about how diligent she will be and the police department will be to bring the individuals who did this to justice. And there you have the root of the problem. White citizens, in some cases, are on their own. And when they're beaten down, the chief of the police department will complain about it. Not about the fact that it's so mean and vicious and terrible and racist, but that it's poisoning the mojo from a great weekend in Cincinnati and giving her police officers a bad name. Wow, what a country. Well, what a half of a country, really, those people. This is Common Sense Radio. Wow, one of my favorite Jewish rock stars had her concert disrupted by anti-Semites. We'll follow up on that. This is Common Sense Radio.
I'm gonna leave the city. Got to.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something about O'Fallon Family Floors. O'FallonFamilyFloors.com, right there, beautiful Highway K. And Brian and the team, so good at what they do. They really do a wonderful job in terms of making sure that you are happy, that the quality is top-notch, that the installation workmanship is top-notch, that the variety is top-notch. And would you believe, little old O'Fallon Family Floors, right? I say little old, but believe me, they're just expanding. They have the greatest variety you're going to find anywhere in the land for your flooring. They have better variety than the variety you'll find at a Lowe's, at a Home Depot, at any other big box store. They have more variety on the wood plank, on the carpeting, on the laminate, you name it. And Brian saved a couple, more than $1,000 once when they decided, just for fun, after they went to Lowe's, they decided, let's stop by there and see what they've got going. They walk in, they've got 10 times the amount of variety of the flooring they were looking at Lowe's. And Brian's like, I can also give you a better price. And on top of that, you're not dealing with some separate company on installation and all this kind of stuff. The installers that Brian has are legacy installers. For instance, the guys who are installing the floors right now, their fathers were installing floors 25 years ago. So these guys know all there is to know about installation and making sure it's done right. Brian, who is the owner of the company, is still the one who comes out and measures all the flooring. He measures to make sure it's right. He has a mobile design unit, and the mascot is a lion. I one time asked him, say, what is the lion about? He goes, it's about pride. Because I'm telling you what, people don't have pride in their businesses anymore. They just want to go in for the sale. We're the opposite. O'FallonFamilyFloors.com, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Is your backyard a battleground every evening? Swatting, itching, kids running back inside? Hey, Tim Jones here. I just found out about a new local company, Mosquito Nix, that can take care of all that and more. They offer permanent automatic mosquito and tick protection, not just fogging, real coverage you don't have to think about. They've helped over 40,000 families nationwide take back their yards with their automatic mosquito control system. Now they're offering a free fogging treatment to introduce themselves to St. Louis families. Call 636-698-1980 now or visit mosquitonix.com. Say goodbye to bug bites this summer. Service area restrictions do apply. Tell them Tim Jones sent you. Ask about their back-to-school special. St. Louis summers don't last forever, but mosquito bites shouldn't either. Call 636-698-1980. Visit mosquitonix.com. That's mosquitonix.com. This is a limited time offer.
You and I might have something in common, back pain. I can tell you where I go for help, Esquire Sports Medicine, the spine of St. Louis. They can put athletes back on the field so they can clearly help us. Esquire Sports Medicine, hands-on chiropractic help on Big Bend, just north of Highway 40. 314-644-0885. EsquireSportsMedicine.com. EsquireSportsMedicine.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Live and local.
Welcome home. And whoosh, sitting in traffic, stuck in a jam, and being entertained by Vic and Thunder Stealing Ken.
This is News Talk STL.
Light is all over us, like I always was, like I always was.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here. Glad to be with you. 101.9, 94.1, and streaming as well. Facebook, Rumble, and beyond. We're getting this fixed. Eventually, I just want to let you guys know on Rumble and Facebook, I really can't see your comments live here because there's a virus thing up on the computer there, and so it blocks out your comments. So if you're commenting, I certainly appreciate it, but I can't see them. But I'm sure they're brilliant. Just letting you know. Not a long-term problem. Just, you know how those things come up on the computer screen sometimes. Virus found. Your PC is at risk. You must spend $157 a month for the protection, or we'll put it back up on your screen, Allman. I think there's a way to minimize things or do whatever, but I have no idea. Make it smaller or something. Who knows? Anyway, I'm just going to assume that all of you are brilliant, sharp, insightful, intellectual, in agreement with my amazing position on everything. If you're not in agreement, you still love what I'm saying. So that's how it's going to go. All right. I do want to. I do think that this story in Cincinnati is important, if anything, because it's about time that we made stuff like this a big deal. It's about time that we weren't scared to make it a big deal. It's about time that our leadership in the prosecutorial end, in the political end, we're not afraid to go after individuals because of their race, meaning they're afraid to go after them because they're black, because they don't want to be perceived as racist or what have you. And so a lot of really bad black people get a pass. That's just the truth of it. That's the truth of the matter. That's just true. And so, I'm not, this whole, not only that, I remember because when the Black Lives Matter thing came out, oh my Lord, we were all told at the time, especially like in the news media, you could not question Black Lives Matter. It was the most vicious, racketeering, mafia-like organization on the planet. It extorted money from people and then tricked all these idiots, like, for instance, the St. Louis Cardinals, to putting the Black Lives Matter thing even on the mound. It was kind of like, COVID was so embarrassing as a human being. I was so embarrassed to be a human because of our reaction to COVID. Similarly, I was really embarrassed by the reaction to Black Lives Matter. It held so many people hostage, and it hurt so many people, and it really damaged the credibility of so many people. But, who's to say? By the way, I do wonder though, because, you don't see as many Black Lives Matter signs in people's yards anymore. Why did they take those down, I wonder? Oh, it was the Black Lives Matter thing like that bucket challenge thing that everybody did? Where everybody did the ice cold water over their head or something for muscular dystrophy or whatever it was. I mean, they never actually, about 90% of those people who did that on Facebook and everything else never raised a dime for the charity. I forgot what charity it was, but they never raised a dime for it. But you kind of had to do it, Are you going to do the bucket challenge? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do the bucket challenge. In fact, the more people do it, the less likely. That's been kind of the vibe that I've taken. So anyway, back to my point. It's really nice to be in a situation where we're finally fighting back. Now, again, I'm not saying that, white people are oppressed. I'm not saying, we're running around never knowing when a black terrorist is going to attack us. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when the incidents happen, though, it used to be that nothing was done. It was as if you were white and a crime was committed against you because by a black person, you somehow deserved it, had it coming, or should just take it. And I'm glad to see that's no longer the case. Again, Pam Bondi is hot on the trail of these individuals in terms of charging them and in terms of federally charging them. I can't wait until the five, once they're charged, are going to be surrounded by guess who, right? They're going to have a news conference, and Al Sharpton's going to be there. And so will the guy who defended or who was the lawyer for the Mike Brown family. All the usual suspects are going to come out, and they're going to act like somehow this was the fault of the two white people who were beaten. You know how this goes. But in the meantime, as I pointed out, even with the chief of police in Cincinnati being so just, I couldn't believe this news conference. She comes out and says, damn it, we had a great week at a jazz festival. Cincinnati was hopping. We had a Cincinnati Reds game, and then this happened, and you all are paying attention to that. Damn it. And I woke up to the video like everybody else did. Well, so much for communication. Is anybody looking into the fact that the chief woke up like everybody else? I mean, chiefs of police are not supposed to wake up like everybody else to find out a crime happened in their city. I don't know. I found out on the radio. It's like, wow, that's crazy. And she acts like she said it like it wasn't an indictment of her attitude. So much for the 3 a.m. wake-up call, right?
Upon arrival, the fight was over with. The fight was over with when the officers arrived.
Yeah, that's because they had beaten these two to a pulp. Any continuation of the fight would have killed them.
Majority of the participants were gone. The officers did exactly what they are trained to do. They gathered information from the victims that were still at the scene to complete an offense report. I will tell you, at this time, we have victims and suspects identified, and we have charged 5 people in this offense. I'm not going to release that information to you. I will say, if individuals were down there and participated in this event, it would be in their best interest to come turn themselves in at one of our police districts.
Right. So finally serious about that part of it. And what's curious about this too is the fact that there was nobody coming to the aid of these 2 people being beat down. That's another longer term societal question I think that we have to ask is, how can you stand around? I mean, I realize that the thugs were all videotaping it and stuff, but nobody came in. And I get it, though. You never know what's going to happen. And I understand that, which is why we have law enforcement officers, so that we don't have to do it ourselves. But at some point, man, when somebody is getting beaten that badly, but we also have seen what has happened to individuals who did take it upon themselves to intervene in bad behavior. You want to know what happened in New York? He was charged. So no wonder some people are hands off. And I get it. And I thought that J.D. Vance had this to say. I thought was pretty good about, it's too bad there wasn't anybody around who could stop this.
They will be so long as law enforcement in the state of Ohio takes their job seriously. I know Dave Yost cares a lot about these things. But yeah, I actually, you're right. Bernie did send me a clip of this, and we talked a little bit about it. I don't know the full context. I don't know how the fight started. But the one part that I saw that was really gruesome is you had a grown man who sucker punched a middle-aged woman. And where I come from, at least, when you have a grown man who sucker punches a middle-aged woman, that person ought to go to jail for a very long time. And frankly, he's lucky there weren't some better people around, because they would have handled it themselves. But if they're not going to handle it, the cops in Cincinnati, the law enforcement, you've got to prosecute people.
Yeah. And that's the best defense in the end, that will prevent other people from having to intervene in these situations. So there you go. This Cincinnati story isn't going away, but I guarantee you by the end of the week, the script will have been flipped and the perpetrators will be victims. It's how it keeps on going, but I'm glad Pam Bondi is already considering getting involved, and I hope they don't back down. All right. Looks like the anti-Semites and the pro-Hamas people, everybody else, aren't giving up, man. They're starting to actually interfere with free speech now. Isn't that odd? Plus, Tim Jones is going to be in. He's going to break down this effort, the redistricting effort. We'll have a great discussion about that here on the 3 Martini Lunch. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
When you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long have you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Mayela Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Hungry for something different? Come taste the Chicago tradition at Nancy's Pizza in O'Fallon, Missouri. Family and veteran-owned Nancy's brings you authentic Chicago-style stuffed crust pizza, hot, cheesy, and piled high. Craving a crunch? Try our crispy tavern-style pizza. Plus, we even have delicious gluten-free crusts. Try our mouth-watering selection of pastas, sandwiches, salads, and appetizers. And don't forget to join our loyalty program for tasty rewards. Carry out and delivery only. 2007 Highway K in O'Fallon and nancyspizza.com. Use code NEWSTALK to receive a free 6-inch breadstick with your purchase.
Columbo and Company.
Donald Trump announced another big trade deal this week with the European Union. We'll discuss the details Tuesday, plus Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com and Susie Moore from Red State.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
I never loved nobody fully. Always one foot on the ground. And by protecting my heart truly, I got lost in the sounds I hear in my mind. All of these voices I hear in my mind.
That is the sound of the awesome Regina Spektor. I have followed her and used her music on my show for 20 years now. And she's a Jewish artist, and she came from Russia when she was a child to the United States of America. Super cute too, by the way, but great voice. And people have followed her for a long time. She's known as, I guess, an alternative artist or whatever, you know. But she's been very, very vocal in her support of Israel. And on Saturday, she was in Portland, Oregon, at a place called the Revolution Hall. And these people decided to go to her concert and shout "Free Palestine," completely disrupting it. And there was some fan footage captured from the concert, and she was on stage performing when someone yelled "Free effing Palestine." Disrupted the show, forcing the singer to stop performing and address the situation. And she was great when she was addressing the situation, because she said, you know, you're just yelling at a Jew. I don't know what he thinks he's really doing. I really appreciate the security. And many in the audience then supported Spektor, applauded her. We had a really hard time last night when I said Shalom Alchem, a Hebrew phrase meaning peace be upon you. And audience members responded with Am Yisrael Chai, which translates to the people of Israel live. So it's really pretty incredible how, keep in mind, the news media, and by the way, you haven't heard this story in the mainstream media, right? About a Jewish singer being harassed by a bunch of anti-Semites in the United States of America. This kind of thuggery, this kind of terrorism happened all throughout the campuses of the Ivy League schools. This is what it was like to be Jewish on these campuses. to be yelled at with terrorism, anti-Semite dog whistles. And that's what it was like. And it's funny how the news media and others, especially when these people were held to account for violently confronting individuals with menacing and words that basically translate to death, when they were held to account, the news media came to their defense and said, well, it's free speech. It's free speech. And it's interesting because they did have free speech, didn't they? They were allowed to operate on these campuses with impunity. But it's interesting how they hide behind the free speech thing and then try to deny free speech for others. Well, I'm sorry, Jewish people. So they stopped the concert, did everything like that, and basically kept her from singing and talking. And of course, you got to really be. This was in Portland, Oregon, which I wish actually was a sinkhole instead of a city. But this was in Portland, Oregon, and imagine what you have to kind of do, the kind of plotting you have to do to, first of all, get Regina Spektor on the radar coming to a venue, buy tickets, and then go there just to harass her for being a Jew. Because that's what this is, and that's why I'm really glad that she said, well, you know, you're just yelling at me because I'm Jewish. You're just yelling at a Jew is what you're doing. And that's really what it is. And I really feel, I have to tell you, that I really feel good about the state of our country right now in terms of really super good people, decent Americans, real Americans, standing up for themselves and watching the bad people, even if they're not punished, they're exposed, whatever. But I really feel good about the fact that instead of Regina Spektor deciding, well, I'm not going to perform in Portland, you know, that's where all the Antifa people are. I thought it was really super brave for Regina Spektor to decide, you know, I'm going to go to Portland, even though it's the hotbed of left-wing lunacy and the Free Palestine movement and Antifa and everything else. She did the concert there anyway, which really makes her brave. And I'm glad that people are indeed approaching life and just simply the pursuit of happiness with a level of bravery which is not impeded by others. And if it is impeded, then the individuals are punished. The prosecutors in Ohio and Cincinnati, for instance, they're not going to do anything. Pam Bondi will. And that's the good news, is that we have an administration that is more than just an administration, more than just to make America great again. It is to make us courageous again and unafraid. And I believe in this country right now, I see so many people on the conservative side speaking up and coming out and saying what they're thinking and doing what they're doing. I mean, I noticed that even Jay Leno isn't afraid of the left-wing mob. Jay Leno came out and said, you know, why not just be funny? I mean, if I had any kind of advice for young comedians, or especially if you have a network television show, is don't give up on half your audience just because you have to please a certain part of your audience. And that really is an important thing, because back in the day, a guy like Jay Leno, especially during the whole cancel culture days, would be ripped apart. And I've been through that. I've been, I keep in mind, I was one of the first out of the blocks in the cancel culture era. And man, that was crazy, but it got crazier even after that for a lot of people. And then just briefly, I want to go back then to, I was reading a story about Hulk Hogan, and one of the offshoots of his death was a reminiscing of what he did to Gawker. And the New York Times did this story about really how truly awful Gawker was. And I'm in terms of the staff and everything else. These are really bad people. And they made it a point, for instance, to out. I mean, these are supposedly liberals, but they made it a point, for instance, to out gay people, gay executives or whatever, and do all this kind of stuff. They made it a point to do that. And those and they really ruined a lot of people's lives, or at least tried to, and made it difficult. But those days are over now. Those days are over. And it's thanks to the United States of America deciding it was going to double down and renew its subscription to true freedom and true courage, and the kind of freedom and courage that we were able to have secured by so many people who died for this country and who died for freedom in this country and who have stood up for it. And I would venture to guess, too, and you go back to Cincinnati, that, the Al Sharptons of the world will always see Black people as victims and everything else. Even when they're perpetrating heinous crimes, they still become victims. But in the end, many people out of the civil rights movement and beyond have given this freedom and fought for this freedom that is now ultimately and unfortunately being squandered by bad people, bad Black celebrities like Joy Reid and others who continue to talk about slavery and talk about how oppressed they are and talk about how racist Donald Trump is. But the really good news is those people are dropping like flies. They're leaving the newspapers, they're leaving the networks, and it won't be long before next couple of years or so, that they kind of organically rot away, which is a good thing. Man, in the end, we're really going to know how beautiful the consequences were of that vote in 2024. And, I was talking to Vic and Ken on their way out after their show, and I said, the only people left now to fumigate from our midst are the ones who didn't want him to be president and stood on the sidelines and aided and abetted the people who were going to change this country for the positive forever. And they're still around. And so we're just laughing about that, because it's funny. Regina, little cutie pie. Just stand up for yourself. Stand up for the Jewish people. Stand up for Israel. That's how it goes.
It's like forgetting.
Tim Jones is up next in the studio, I think, at least. Talk about that redistricting move that's dividing a few people. We'll have more on that coming up. It's Common Sense Radio.
How do you find a roofing contractor you can trust? You could randomly pick one and cross your fingers. Or here's a better idea. Choose Expert Group Contracting. We're proud to use America's most trusted roofing brand, Owens Corning. That means we've been screened for reliability, professionalism, and customer service. Residential or commercial roofing, licensed, insured, and offering free estimates. Why take chances on your roof? Visit expertgroupcontracting.com. That's expert with an X, groupcontracting.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Life's legal challenges deserve experienced representation. For over 15 years, Cole Combs Attorney at Law has been serving St. Charles and surrounding counties with comprehensive legal expertise. From tax preparation and estate planning to family law and criminal defense, Cole delivers personalized solutions for your unique situation. You have traffic tickets, need a business formation, real estate matters, one call will handle it all. Cole O. Combs Attorney at Law. Call 636-949-0010 extension 3 today or visit colecombs-law.com.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colonies.
Wait, I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 636-486-7888.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. President Trump has wrapped up a 5-day visit to Scotland. During a meeting with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Monday, the president raised pressure on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over a worsening hunger crisis in Gaza. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Starmer has announced the UK will recognize a Palestinian state in September. That's unless Israel agrees to a ceasefire and moves toward peace. A man from Las Vegas with a documented mental health history shot and killed 4 people. New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
No words can describe this act of evil, a man who takes the life of others who are innocent. And no words can fill the void that has been left by this tragedy. Our hearts break for the families and friends of the victims. We pray for the swift and safe recovery of the injured.
The mayor says the man was trying to target the headquarters of the National Football League, but took the wrong elevator. Also at townhall.com, House Speaker Mike Johnson dismissing a discharge petition from Representatives Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna that is designed to force the release of more files on Jeffrey Epstein.
The duo's bill is reckless, Johnson told NBC's Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, and it would force the DOJ and FBI to release information he said that was not even credible enough to be entered into the court proceedings. Johnson said, quote, I agree with President Trump, with the Department of Justice, with the FBI, that you need all credible evidence and information out there. That word credible is important. Why? Because you must protect innocent people's names and reputations whose names might be intertwined into all these files. Johnson says the bill from the 2 lawmakers was not why he adjourned the House a day earlier than planned. He said the maneuver was necessary because of Democrats seeking to force Epstein votes in the House Rules Committee. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
The Dow dropping 200 points, the NASDAQ Composite down 38. More at townhall.com.
A couple years ago, I was in the bathroom at the airport when I dropped my smartphone in the toilet. Not smart. I was multitasking when I should have been focused on the job at hand. Embarrassing, but I'm not alone. According to Google, 7 million other multitaskers accidentally dropped their phones into the bowl last year. A gentle reminder that right now you can get yourself a brand new Samsung Galaxy A36 absolutely free with a $35 plan from Pure Talk. The A36 comes with scratch-resistant Gorilla Glass and a battery that'll last all day, along with unlimited talk, text, and data on America's most dependable 5G network. In other words, it's tough and smart. Something to think about next time you're multitasking and the necessary. Just dial pound 250, say keyword Mike Rowe to get your free phone today. You can make the switch in just 10 minutes. That's pound 250. Say Mike Rowe to switch to a no-nonsense smartphone and a company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert meteorologist Kristen Cornett with your forecast. Sunny, hot, and humid today with a high of 97. Peak heat index up to about 108. Mostly clear overnight. We'll drop to 77. And then for Wednesday, sunny and hot with a high of 95. A 30% chance for scattered afternoon thunderstorms. Better chance of thunderstorms, though, comes Wednesday night as a cold front comes through. We'll drop to 73. And then Thursday, finally a little bit cooler. Mostly cloudy with a high of 80 and a 50% chance for scattered storms. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Kristen Cornett.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobbler's, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
News, analysis,
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Opinion.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too, because I know I am.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by Proctor Drapery Blinds and Shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com.
Doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean anything at all. The life I've left behind me is a cold across the last line.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here. Super happy to be with you. I will tell you that my fears of the Ghana flag being confused for the Palestinian flag wound up actually not happening. And then I realized I had the colors mixed up anyway. I'm not a real expert on the Palestinian flag, and I looked, and it turns out I think I was describing the Mexican flag that I thought they'd be confused with, but a Palestinian flag apparently is black, red, and what color is fake, by the way? Whatever. Anyway, the fears were not a problem, and also because the main terminal at Lambert Airport, there are maybe 5 people there. It's the second time I've been there in the last couple weeks or so, and I'm telling you, Southwest is crazy. That, Terminal 2 is nuts, but the main terminal at Lambert is deserted. I mean, it's actually pretty scary. I mean, it really is. When Natalie left, it was on a weekday still, but there was nobody there. You had like Delta, American, everything else, and there was hardly anybody there. Tim, you fly a lot, right?
Mm-hmm. I do, Jamie.
You fly through the main terminal?
All the time. I fly American.
Okay, so am I mistaken, or is it...
what day was it?
I can't remember. It was like a Friday or a Thursday or something.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday are generally the best days to fly because there's less business travel. However, you are correct in noticing that St. Louis on those lesser travel days has lesser travel than everyone else.
Yeah.
Lesser than lesser. And Jamie, it comes down to the fact that our landing fees here in St. Louis are exorbitant compared to other airports, other major international airports. This is an old vestige. This is ancient history. This is what happened when TWA pulled out. Carl Icahn, God bless him, amazing entrepreneur, but he screwed St. Louis and shifted most of the business of American to Chicago, which now Chicago's overloaded and you can never get out of there on time. And it's absolutely insane. And here we are with this extra capacity in St. Louis. The whole thing needs to be revamped. And I know they have a plan to actually finally renovate St. Louis International Airport so it actually looks like an international airport.
Yeah.
Jamie, Jacksonville, Florida has a nicer airport than St. Louis now.
Wow.
That's how far we've sunk.
Crazy. I feel bad. All the abandoned restaurants and all that stuff. And that is crazy. And Jim Talent one time told me, I meant to follow up on this. And Jim, because I wanted to do this as far long ago as even when I was in TV, I wanted to do an investigative report on that runway, that new runway. Somebody got away with murder on that one. The brand new runway that they destroyed all the communities for and put that in. It's not used to my knowledge, right?
When you fly over Lambert, do you look down and notice that it looks like something out of the History Channel's the day after?
Yeah.
Like what happens if the humans that they had that series on the History Channel where what would happen to the earth if humans disappeared tomorrow?
Yeah.
And like everything gets overgrown and there's trees coming out of buildings, kind of like East St. Louis.
Yeah.
That's what the aerial view of St. Louis Lambert looks like. So it's in massive need of redevelopment. I know there's a plan on the books. I wish they'd get to it. And they need to bring our airport up out of the Stone Ages.
Yeah.
I mean, I do fly a lot. I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed to get to travel and see this great nation. And there's so many airports. I could go down the list. I could start naming them. I mean, DFW is like the crown jewel.
Yeah.
That's like the Taj Mahal of air travel.
Right.
But even smaller airports like Jacksonville, like Jackson, Wyoming, have nicer airport complexes than St. Louis International Lambert. And it's another example of how the city of St. Louis, most people don't know this, the city of St. Louis owns and operates Lambert International. Why, I don't know. I don't remember the history on that, but they
take
do.
care of all the vendors and stuff out there.
It's another example of things that the city of St. Louis runs not well.
Yeah. So and you fly a lot more than I do, and I've had the fortune of not having any incidents or whatever. You see all these videos of people like passengers disrupting things. Have you ever had that happen to you? Like anybody ever been weird on the plane?
Knock on wood. No, and I fly a lot. I've had tons of travel delays and horror stories I could tell you for the next hour of your show to bore people to death. But air travel no longer. I mean, it's still exciting. It's exciting to go places.
I love it.
Taking my family out to Yellowstone next week, and then I'm going to Israel the week after. I'm going to touch base with you guys.
Finally getting out there, right?
Your show is perfect because it's 8 hours ahead. So when you're on the air between noon and 2, it'll be 8 to 10 over there. So it'll be very easy to check in with you. So you might get exclusive access to Jones and Armstrong.
And you might not be in a bomb shelter, which is going to be
hoping
even better.
So, keep peace alive, you know? And let us get in, my goodness. Hasn't Donald Trump completely preserved peace, not only in the Middle East, but around the globe? I mean, what a difference, right? This year is versus last year, where it seemed like every week we had this little promo we would run for our show on Fridays, and it was evergreen because it was what chaos and crises did Joe Biden and Democrats cause over the weekend?
Right.
Tune in on Monday, and we'll speak with Jim Talent and Susie Moore about that. And Jamie, that promo was correct, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Every single week.
Well, of course. And what's funny is he also has preserved peace in the United States of America. I was explaining in the first hour with these incidents in Cincinnati and beyond, and I was saying that or the protests on the campuses. But there's finally some accountability, for bad people, and they're finally facing the music, and that gives us a huge sense of security as Americans, whether it be on the streets or just in your general operation. You get this idea that people who were doing bad things are finally being held accountable, that we're just not running around like it's Lord of the Flies anymore.
That's exactly right. I heard those segments. That was excellent. I really love listening on that because you were hitting the nail on the head. When did we decide as a society that law and order was not going to be a thing anymore.
Yeah.
And that it would just because the left and CNN and MSNBC said it was racist and xenophobic and blah, 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 and all this other crap they make up. When did we decide that that was the way we were going to go? Because, then you descend into Lord of the Flies chaos.
Right.
And that's what it became. Every, law and order is not some creation of the white racist founding fathers of our country. Law and order goes back to ancient Athens and Greece.
Right.
When we decided we wanted to have civil societies.
Right, exactly.
As human beings.
And, I factored all of that in, whether it be peace around the world or peace here in the United States, into my assessment of what you guys are calling for in the Freedom Caucus. And that is this redistricting approach. And I will tell you that my instincts, initial gut instinct is, man, why can't we just utilize the power that we had in 2024 that turned blue cities and others red, and just use that instead of doing what ultimately will be called gerrymandering? And then I was also, though, calculating, because I have this feeling, and I trust J.D. Vance. Okay, I do. I trust some of these people around President Trump. But we have to make sure that the Trump movement, Make America Great Again, continues. And that's only going to continue if we have a fortification of Congress.
Yes.
Because, and again, I trust J.D. Vance, but sometimes I feel like some people are just waiting for Trump to leave so that we could go back to the old Republican days. J.D. Vance would never do that, I don't think. Because I do think he's a strong continuer of the Trump agenda. I think he will be. But you never know about the people around him, much the same way that people around Trump in 2016 betrayed him and everything else. And so the fortification of the Make America Great Again movement is critical. And I do feel like sometimes people are just waiting for 2028. Well, it's only a couple years away, and we'll be done with Trump. And we can't be.
I could not agree with you more. We have to finally be rid of the notion that the Republican Party should be one of establishment elitists who act the same way that the liberals do when they're in power, that they are the oligarchs and the little people, all of us conservatarians out here in the hinterlands, pat us on the head, say that you will do conservative stuff when you campaign, and then do the exact opposite when you're in office. These technocrat, managerial, establishment elitist Republicans were in many cases worse than Democrats, because it's at least with Democrats, you can treat them as the devil, and you never know which of these people who campaign as conservatives are going to govern as big government Republicrats until they actually get elected, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
And so we must never return to that party. We must be, I agree with you. We need to figure out how to remain that America First party where our elected leadership, and we have several key examples of that from Missouri, don't we? Like Bob Onder, like Eric Burleson. They're there. They know they're there because of the consent of the governed. And guys like that and ladies like that in the Congress know that they need to continue to question authority, no matter if it's Republican or Democrat. It's the uniparty that we often speak about here.
And I think there are still plenty of Republicans in Congress right now, for instance, who are more than happy just to jump ship, or who will be more than happy when Trump's gone, because he keeps them honest. In many ways, he is a babysitter for a lot of them, and Trump's cabinet is as well. But some of these guys, are pretty wishy-washy. And I will also argue that a redistricting move is not as much about defeating Democrats as it is about defeating Republican leftovers, people who would have bad visions for the Republican Party and go back there. So it will defeat Democrats, but at the same time, though, it secures the Republican Party we fought our butts off for.
Yeah, Jamie, who stopped the 7-1 congressional map the last time around? It wasn't just the Democrats. It was largely the Republican establishment, quote, leadership who were in power of the supermajority. We've had a supermajority now for close to a decade in both chambers in Jefferson City. And so anytime that something Republican doesn't pass, you can't blame it on the super minority Democrats.
Right.
You blame it on the so-called leadership of the Republican supermajority. And Jamie, look who's leading on this call for congressional redistricting. It's Donald Trump and the Trump White House and the Missouri Freedom Caucus. It's Nick Schroer and Justin Sparks, myself as the state director, and the 13 members of the Missouri Freedom Caucus who are saying Democrats always are on a quest for power, but their quest for power usually results in, oppression, and in the case of communism, death. Republicans' quest for power results in the people being more empowered for economic freedom and religious liberty and beyond.
Yeah, and you've lived in a world where you were the minority, because weren't you the Speaker of the House during Nixon's time?
No. I entered the Missouri House at the beginning of the Republican Revolution in Missouri.
Okay.
We had just taken over, and some of the people I did serve in the minority. And that's why I feel like my class was always very humble, because we would hear the stories every day. You guys better work hard. You guys and ladies better work hard. You better raise money. You better never take people for granted, because we served in the minority and it sucks. And so we had the fear of God put into us, Jamie, every day. And so I was one of maybe the last classes that was able to listen to the wise elders about what it was like to serve in the minority and how you never want to go back there again.
Yeah. The whole Carnahan, Holden, Nixon. Yeah. The days when the Democrat governors were.
I did serve under Nixon. We had a Republican majority, but we had to deal with a Democrat in the governor's mansion.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think again, I think that's the biggest, the most. As I thought about it, it was the most convincing argument for what you guys are pushing for, and that is preservation, fortification of Make America Great Again.
Jamie,
that's just what it is.
If you don't constantly fortify the barracks and the ramparts, right, the Democrats will always look for that opening. And the proof positive on that, the point that proves that is Colorado. In our lifetime, Colorado has flipped from a pretty reliably red state to a deep blue state full of left-wing lunacy. And that could happen in Missouri if we don't fix this IP process, if we don't constantly be looking for ways, like through congressional districting, to fortify those ramparts. Because Democrats, leftists, never give up, whereas I feel sometimes Republicans tend to get a little content and rest a little bit on their laurels.
And this won't be able to happen before 2026, correct?
It would take effect then, yes.
Okay, it would take effect then. Okay, gotcha.
If the governor, pursuant to the calls from the Trump White House and the Missouri Freedom Caucus, calls a special session that would likely be done, if it's going to be done, in conjunction with the veto session in September.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like if the governor can call a special session to fund football stadiums, he can do this, right?
Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
And Nick Schroer, who drafted the Missouri Freedom Caucus press release last week with my assistance, he said, Tim, we also need to include the call for IP reform. Let's get these two big things, one of which has been plaguing us for almost a decade that we haven't been able to get done. Let's rip the Band-Aid off, complete those things now, and then when we go back into session during an election year when everybody doesn't want to do anything, maybe we can just focus on one or two other big things, but we'll have these two things done. Why wouldn't we want to take advantage of that in a super red Republican supermajority state?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we?
No doubt. All right. So you played golf yesterday. Is that correct? You were at a tournament.
I did.
Fundraising tournament.
For
right?
Senator Adam Schnelting.
All right. I was wondering about you because Jeff and I were talking about it because it was 99 degrees.
1,000 degrees. Yeah.
So you guys worked out all right?
We did well. News Talk STL was well represented.
Yeah.
Many people asked for me to say hello to you.
All right.
Very happy you're part of the family.
Right
and we have Jamie, we got a lot of super fans out there, and I think we're only getting bigger and better.
No doubt about it. And you and Christopher Arps have a great show every day, 4:00 here on News Talk STL. All right, buddy. Well, we'll keep in touch, and thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
All right. That's the great Tim Jones, the former House Speaker and now amazing radio host. Great conservative. Stick with us, people, because, this is the only way it's going to go. There are people waiting, and they're not just Democrats, for some way to go back to the way it was before, and we cannot let that happen. This is Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch, the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019 991 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Well, have yet another story about working as a real estate agent with Stewie's American Mortgage, Stewart'sAMC.com, and home of the bagel loan, the originators of the bagel loan. This is pretty amazing. The bagel, it comes from Stewie, being from Brooklyn. So, of course, it's a bagel. And then, of course, you also have the bagel is shaped like a zero. And zero is what it's all about. Zero lending fees, zero fees for credit pulls, all this kind of stuff. In the end, your closing costs are either minimal or none when you're working with Jordan and Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage. It's right there, Stewie's AMC.com, Stewart'sAMC.com. If you just Google the bagel loan, you can find their numbers. Tell them that Jamie sent you, and they, of course, will take good care of you. Also, when it comes to refis and when it comes to debt consolidation, the same kind of limited outlay for you and more cash in your pocket applies. Jordan makes miracles. I know it firsthand because I have a lot of home buyers who I refer them to him, and he takes such good care of them. I always have the confidence in the world that he's going to beat out any of these other people out there with some of the shenanigans, including, we'll give you a credit here, but then it's higher fees over there. And so once you crunch the numbers, you realize that Stewart's American Mortgage is the way to go. Stewie's American Mortgage. Stewart'sAMC.com, or just Google the bagel loan and give them a call and tell them that Allman sent you.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
It's one of baseball's fiercest rivalries, the Cubs versus the Cardinals, and the action returns to Busch Stadium the weekend of August 8th through the 10th. Feel the heat, the history, and the excitement as these two legendary teams battle it out under the summer lights. 3 big games, 2 historic teams, 1 electric atmosphere you won't want to miss. Great seats remain. Secure yours today at Cardinals.com.
This is Wilson Contreras, San Luis Cardinals, for the Loop.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game, it's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody, it's our favorite song.
News, analysis, opinion.
This is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
There have been some 850 rescues.
What happened? Why did it happen?
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Sorry about that. I just had to do that. Sometimes you like bagpipes because they give you this kind of sense of regalness, and I don't know what they give you a sense of. Kilts and those long stockings and things, and I know one guy who wears a kilt. He's a cool dude, though, too. Big dude, so I never would dare make fun of his kilt or anything. You got to have some balls to wear a kilt around. You have to have balls and muscles. Like if I ran around wearing a kilt, I would be justifiably humiliated by everybody who saw me. But if you're 6.5 feet tall and big muscles and you're wearing a kilt, you may be able to continue your life without being attacked by anybody. But yeah, the thing about bagpipes, I'm going to say it right off of this thing. I don't, because Scottish people are so temperamental about everything, you know. It's like people from North County, you know. You say one little negative thing about North County or something, they'll just go, you'll get slammed with emails and North County is North County. I get it. I'm just kidding. Gee whiz. It's like Scotland, though. You say something bad about, like, something about Scotland. It's like, golly, Scottish people are annoying. I'm sorry, but if it's not Scottish, it's crap. It's like, okay, I get it. And enough with your bagpipes. Gee whiz. Seriously. I mean, that's the problem with bagpipes is it's great, like at a funeral or something, you know, because it doesn't go on forever. But you know, on this, can you imagine listening to a whole CD of bagpipe music? Oh, it ended for me. Thank you. The bagpipe, you know, that's typical Scottish people. It got all butthurt because I was making fun of it. So I said, well, I'm just going to stop playing then. Like, okay, have at it. But anyway, this European Union, this deal with UK is just absolutely incredible. And actually, had the EU not waited, they could have gotten probably a better deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never should kind of keep things going because it's only going to get actually worse for you, not better for you when you're dealing with Donald Trump. I mean, look what happened, like, for instance, with the Columbia University and Harvard. So Harvard... Columbia University says, okay, we're going to settle this right away. Then it's no big deal. Well, $30 million. Here you go. Is that enough? So I was like, yeah, that's fine. Because it happened like in a matter of days. Harvard's like, well, I don't know. I don't think we're going to do this right now. And so we're just going to wait it out because they were hoping that all these left-wing people, everybody would go out into the streets and would do this situation where, you know, oh yeah, we can be protected by the news media and everything else. But Harvard didn't make the calculation that that the news media gets bored with everything, even left-wing things. They'll move on to yet another story. And so even when it came to defending Harvard, they just gave up because they weren't interested in it. They had other fish to fry. And now Harvard is facing $500 million of a payment to the government for violation of civil rights. So again, when you're dealing with Donald Trump, don't wait. Donald Trump is you play that game with Donald Trump, he'll just make it worse for you as the time goes on. And so all these other countries made these trade deals with President Trump, and they got some pretty good deals, whatever. The EU waited too long, and they had to pay more because Trump punished them for playing him. And that's how President Trump gets business done. I want to divert here just really quickly because Janice is wondering, do you think you'll ever have your friend back on, Father Tom? He got relocated, and so did you. But no, Janice, the reason why Father Tom was no longer on my show was because the Archdiocese told him he couldn't be. So that's why. So what happened was he was out there in New Melly, and everything was going great. He was on my show, everything else. He was moved to a different parish, and obviously somebody either complained or did whatever, but that put him on the radar as being on my show. And then next thing you know, Father Tom says, I gotta go off the show. So that's because it was too political. I mean, yeah. The Catholic Church doesn't mind being political on everything else, but if it's political on anything conservative, the Catholic Church doesn't like it. So that's kind of how it goes. The Pope can sit there and babble on about global warming all day long, but heaven forbid Father Tom talk about civil society and lower taxes and making America great again. That's not tolerable. So anyway, Janice, that's why he's not on the show. And I did chat with him via text a couple weeks ago. I checked in on him to see how he's doing, and then we made some tentative plans to try to let's figure out a time to get together. Haven't been able to do that yet because things are crazy. All right, back to the trade issue. So then what happens is CNN decides they're going to go all out in dumping on not only President Trump's peacemaking, but also on the trade deals, because the news media, the national news media, for the most part, they are enemies of the country. They are enemies of decency. They are enemies of common sense. If they believe you and I are just a bunch of rubes, they know nothing about how we live, where we live. You noticed a while back, the New York Times did a story, I'll never forget this, that expressed surprise that people buy food at gas stations. Would you believe people buy sandwiches and pizza even at gas stations? I'm like, no kidding. Like a Wally's to them would be almost impossible for them to digest a gigantic operation like a Wally's. And because in New York, first of all, these idiots, they don't drive. They just take the subway. And they don't do normal things like we do, like fill up gas tanks and things. So they don't ever walk into a gas station. So somewhere along the line, they wound up being pooped out of New York and wind up in some area where there's a gas station. They walk in, they're like, wow, there's food here. There's food in the gas station. And they did a whole thing about it. So they don't live, they don't have any kind of life like you and I. And they're like the dog staring into the Victrola cone. They have no idea how we live and what's up with us. So, of course, they also must be in control of you and how you think. And a person like President Trump, who is just absolutely taking people out time and time again, making deals, making peace deals with the worst people in the world, resolving even the Rwanda-Congo problem. Can you believe that? They don't like that because they didn't vote for it. So there's nothing that you can do, that President Trump can do that is positive, that they can acknowledge in any way, shape, or form. They can't do it. So when they report on it, they just crap all over it, dismiss it.
Business with pleasure. Right now, he's wrapping up his UK trip by playing the first round of golf at his newest property in Scotland.
Yeah, he's playing golf at his golf course. Can you believe the gall of President Trump mixing business with pleasure in that way?
The grand opening in the past hour, and after that, he says it's back to Washington. The morning caps a whirlwind weekend for the.
By the way, I saw even on the Drudge Report, which I go to every once in a while just to get angry. I don't know why I do that. And it said Trump gets trade deal with the EU, and trade deal is in quotation marks. Oh, trade deal. Yeah, that's how the news media always insinuates somehow that they're crapping all over it. I hope you've seen that by now, how especially the print media, they love to put things in quotation marks that they don't believe.
He put the finishing touches on a trade deal with the European Union. He met with the British Prime Minister, issued a new ultimatum to Russia, and applied pressure on Israel. I actually want to start.
Those sound like pretty good things, right? Well, no, not to the CNN panel that includes so-called conservative Jonah Goldberg.
With you, Phil, just because of that very extensive and wide-ranging press conference that I guess part one, the Starmers were sort of part of, and then it extended. For you, was there anything that took precedence beyond his cross promotion, right, for the new golf course?
Look,
he was saying that a bunch of wars have been stopped. So I want to get some sense of what you're thinking.
I think when you see,
let's ask some left-wing blow dry about war and about peace. Let's just ask him what he
the large
thinks.
golden scissors and the ribbon cutting, I do think credit where it's due, he multitasks, right? He goes on these trips, and yes, what he's doing today is completely an anathema to what we think a U.S. president should be doing, but he does many things on these trips. He's very capable of that. It is true that throughout the course of his 6.5 months in office, he has been able to get on the phone with people and kind of jawbone various conflicts into pauses for a time. None of those, though, have really been long lasting.
Pauses for a time. I see what you mean, like India, Pakistan?
Exactly.
Or, okay.
As far as I know, India, Pakistan is still paused. The only thing that's not paused right now, and I haven't heard anything lately, is Russia and Ukraine.
And the stopping all the wars thing, that's a function of the fact that he's obsessed with getting a Nobel Peace Prize, and he thinks he can incept this idea that he's stopped all these wars into everybody's heads.
That's Jonah Goldberg, who was a never-Trumper and still is, who didn't vote for him, who's not really conservative, claims that he was a child of Reagan when he knows nothing about Reagan's policies. Jonah Goldberg is the worst of the worst in terms of those never-Trump conservatives. And yeah, maybe President Trump does want a peace prize. I don't think he should take it. I mean, ever since Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize kind of lost its luster, right? Because he didn't deserve it at all. He didn't do anything. Same thing with the Pulitzer Prize. You get the Washington Post and the New York Times winning Pulitzers for promoting hoaxes. Kind of takes away a little bit from the Pulitzer Prize, don't you think? I'm not going to. How about a little Scott Joplin, everybody, then? Isn't that a little diversion from the bagpipes? St. Louis and too, so there you go. That's why they call us live, local, and late breaking here at News Talk STL, because I play Scott Joplin. It's Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Window World, people, simply the best for less. And what's even greater is that they have a way, if you want to do a whole house project, they have a way of making sure that you can afford it, because they have financing plans for their windows, which are really, really cool. And they're really, really great at making things absolutely happen for you at Window World. 314-993-1800. Simply the best for less. They have, they're the only real window that has a lifetime warranty, and it covers all parts, glass breakage, labor. That is confidence in a window, isn't it, everybody? Of course it is. And that's why they are the official window of the St. Louis Blues, too, because, you know, just like those boards, you throw one of the Blues into a Window World window, it still won't break. Or I'm sorry, not throw one of the Blues. Throw one of the Blues opponents into the window, it still won't break. That's the bottom line. Also, people, the Good Housekeeping Seal of Approval and Qualified Remodeler Magazine has said, wow, Window World is quite the seller. In fact, they're the #1 seller in the United States of America, including in the St. Louis area. Pretty amazing when it comes to what Window World will do for you. Proud sponsors of free, common sense, conservative radio. 314-993-1800. That is Window World, simply the best for less.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Tuesday, and we'll talk with David from the Show Me Institute on the police commissioner who was, who now isn't.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on Newstalk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Allman Report on Newstalk STL. Jamie Allman here with you. The commentariat has now identified quite possibly the most dangerous class in America. For a while there, it was said to be affluent, white liberal women. I've said before, I think it's actually the white liberal male, but who knows? But before I get to that, this is incredible. I think one of the other most dangerous classes in America, of course, is the news media. And I don't know whether you guys are hip to this brand new commercial for these jeans, and it is it's Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle. And do people still, Ashley? Do the young people still all get American Eagle, all that stuff? You do?
Yeah, I shop there.
Oh, you do? Okay. Do you know who Sydney Sweeney is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. She's an actress, right? And so American Eagle has this new promotion on these jeans, and the headline is Sydney Sweeney has great jeans, and this is kind of how it sounds. She's closing a trunk.
Sydney Sweeney has great jeans.
It's a great commercial because she's beautiful, by the way, but she's closing the trunk of her car and then is walking away, and she's patting her behind with her jeans on, walking all modelly and everything, and then gets into this really badass vintage Mustang. Now, that's a far cry from, for instance, what Jaguar did, or what some of the other companies are doing, where they're having all these androgynous people out there and doing all this kind of thing. This is like back to like real America type of stuff, like hardcore America. Blue jeans, hot chick, even though I think she's great because she's very simple, doesn't have makeup on, which I love, and climbs into a vintage Mustang and peels away. Now that's an American woman right there, right, people? So anyway, that, of course, though, isn't tolerable to Good Morning America.
Time to check.
Because they describe that as controversial because of the fact that they are saying that Sydney Sweeney has good genes.
The Pulse, we begin with the backlash over a new ad campaign featuring actress Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, the ads are for American Eagle, and the tagline is Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Now, in one ad, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress talks about genes as in DNA being passed down from her parents.
The play on words is being compared to Nazi propaganda.
Can you believe this? Can you even wrap your head around this reaction to this? And of course, the minorities are apparently all pissed, and so are the liberals, right? Because it's an ad featuring a woman with blonde hair and blue eyes, which actually you rarely see in commercials these days, right? Yeah. Because you have to have, 12% of the population representing 90% of the people in commercials now, right? Gotcha. Anyway, can you believe the backlash? And where's the backlash coming from? Of course, it's coming from the left.
Time to check the Pulse. We begin with the backlash over a new ad campaign featuring actress Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, the ads are for American Eagle, and the tagline is Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Now, in one ad, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress talks about genes as in DNA being passed down from her parents.
The play on words is being compared to Nazi propaganda.
Can you believe this? That there's a segment of this country occupying their minds with this kind of nitpickery, with this where I mean, that's one thing I will tell you is that's why there are so many marketing failures, because nobody has any creativity on the left, and they sure as hell have no sense of humor.
Racial undertones.
Racial undertones?
Good genes activates troubling historical associations for this country.
They're interviewing a professor from Keene University. Let's go talk to a left-wing cloistered professor who's 55 years old and pissed anyway, probably because we're dealing with a younger woman. Who knows? And she's your typical, again, affluent white liberal female, which I still am convinced the white male might be, but the affluent white liberal female apparently used to be the main trouble in the United States of America. But there's a new one. I'll bring that to you in a second here.
Historical associations for this country. The American eugenics movement in its prime between like 1900 and 1940 weaponized the idea of good genes just to justify white supremacism.
Oh, this is
despite that backlash, American Eagle stock has been soaring.
Of course it has. It's a great commercial. It's great marketing for once. And man, I will tell you, if I'm American Eagle, I am putting both middle fingers up to the entirety of these backlashers and everything else. If I'm American Eagle, I am digging in. How could we get to a point where you talk about somebody having great genes and there's undertones of eugenics and white supremacy? Unbelievable. Man, these people cannot disappear from our midst. These termites cannot disappear from our midst faster. I just don't know how we can get rid of them faster. I just wish we could. But my goodness gracious, what a bunch of killjoys and crabs. And it's a great commercial. It's great to see American companies back to doing great American branding again. And that's exactly what American Eagle is doing. And by the way, when it comes to this reaction to this, their stock prices, as noted here, are going up because people are going, wow, well, there's a company. I'll invest in that one because it's more valuable because they're better than the other companies at what they're doing and how they're bringing it back, the classic Mustang and everything else. And it's crazy. I was just talking to my mom last night when she and I were having a vodka like we do on Monday nights. We do vodka and scripture. That's what we do. And my mom's 96, and I asked her one time, like, have you ever like really exercised, like went to a gym or anything? She's like, no. She stopped smoking when she was 85 years old. A regular smoker, probably most of her life, and then just a little here, a little there, in her 80s, and then stopped smoking at 85 years old. I know that when we lived in U City, she walked to church, and she walked up to the high school where she did some volunteer library work and other kinds of things for the high school when my older siblings were there. And, ate well, ate very sparingly. Never saw my mom eat a big dinner in my lifetime. Never saw her drunk either. So everything was in moderation for my mom. And so, and aside from that, she has great genes. She is from old German stock and has great genes. And I think I do too. We all the kids, we got 6 kids. And we all look pretty good for our age. And those are good genes. And I think that's fantastic. It's just a part of a conversation people have, normal, average, everyday conversation. And Zizi, who is this wonderful Muslim woman who happens to be taking care of my mother as well, when we were talking like that, she wasn't offended by it at all. She was more shocked that my mom was smoked all her life. Wonderful woman she is. And so, and my mom would never think that having a conversation about having good genes is code for white supremacy. You've got to actually, you know what that is? That's a sickness. Like that woman who is the professor who is reading into the commercial.
The pun, good genes, activates troubling historical associations for this country.
Oh, my Lord. Can you imagine being in the same bed with that, or in the same house for that matter? Like, no sense of humor, and everything makes you bitter. That's crazy. I feel bad for some of these people, but man, I'll tell you one thing. Even if you do have good genes, worrying about crap like this will lead you to an early grave, whether you have good genes or not, because this is just out of this world nuts. And I don't watch a whole lot of TV, so I've never seen the commercial, but it really is a great commercial. And that's really a nice Mustang that she is. I hope that she comes out. I think she probably will. That Sydney Sweeney. And by the way, she has, it looks like she's got brown hair, not blonde hair. And the black dude on Good Morning America, she's got blonde hair and blue eyes. It's like, yeah, would that piss you off, buddy? What's the matter with blonde hair and blue eyes, dude? Unreal. But that's what people are worrying about. I didn't get to what I wanted to say about the most dangerous class of America. Well, people like that, of course, used to be considered to be wealthy, white, liberal women. Now, apparently, it's high education, low income voters. So you're seeing that all over the place, where you have, well, you saw it at the university level. You saw it in New York, where they voted for that communist weirdo to be mayor. And you're probably seeing a lot of them bitching about Sydney Sweeney and her great genes. So there you go. I cut right to the chase on that one, people.
It's just a matter of time.
So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Ashlyn, thank you so much. And Tony Colombo and Colombo and Company is straight ahead here on News Talk STL. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now open Napoli Kirkwood.